That is hold on. That is fire. Clutch Squad, what is up, and welcome back to Perkaholics Anonymous Podcast, episode 23, or better known as the Astra Malorum episode. It's me, Jeff. It's MZC. We're back. Another episode. Perkaholics Anonymous, DLC 1. Plenty to talk about. We're going to get initial impressions here. We're going to talk Community Corner. We're going to give our thoughts and impressions on the new Black Ops 7 Zombies map. And we're going to kick it off right here. MZC, how are you feeling playing Astra Malorum so far? It's only been out a couple of days, but let's get into it.
I'm definitely sleep deprived, so that's a good thing when it comes to is a map good or not. But the more I play Astra Malorum, man, the more I enjoy it. This is a weird case of like this map where I feel like throughout the entirety of Black Ops 6, map comes out, and I'm like, all right, like, this is awesome, this is so good. And then, like, you know, a couple days go by, and I'm starting to be like, okay, well, now I can take a step back and relax a little bit and kind of just, you know, maybe sleep a little bit more or, you know, go outside and touch the grass a little bit more than I was before. But with these first two maps that have come out in BO7, especially Astra Malorum, I'm like, you know, I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know if I really enjoy this map as much as I thought it would. And then it like grows on you and it grows on you, and then you just can't stop thinking about it. And then I'm laying in bed being like, I should go to bed, but I also want to get up and go play. And that's exactly how I feel with Astra Malorum, where it's like, dude, I mean, when we were talking to each other on day one, I was kind of like, I don't know how to feel about Oscar. I don't think I like this. And I was kind of crashing out over, you know, him disrupting my Easter egg steps and whatnot. But the more that I've kind of just like, you know, gotten to know the map, gotten more familiar with Oscar, the Easter egg itself, the more I'm like, holy shit, this is kind of a banger. This is one of those maps that like you just can't hop on and be like, it's peak. You know, you have to do the Easter egg at least, I'd say 2 or 3 times before you can get appreciation for some of the steps, how easy they can actually be once you learn them. You're manipulating Oscar, doing some other things that we'll get into a little bit later on in the video, so that I don't completely wreck our plan for the vibe here. But overall, man, this is a map where I just, one, I haven't wanted to get off because I just enjoy the setting and I love it so much, and the gameplay is fun, the atmosphere is great. 2, they got that leaderboard event going on, and I'm really trying to get that camo, so I'm kind of just constantly checking in and making sure I'm vibing there. But yeah, overall, it just gets better and better and better the more that I play it, the more I understand the map.
Well, I mean, shout out to Treyarch too, because it seems like, I'm sure what you've seen on your end and what I've seen on my end is that these are back-to-back maps on this game that had super positive sentiment for the most part in the community. And that's what we're interested in here, you know, as well, guys. Go down to the comment section, leave your Astra Malorum rating and the reason behind it. Give it a score 0 out of 10 if you've played it, if you've done the Easter egg. We want to see everybody's individual review because we want to have a good gauge on the community of what you guys are liking, what you guys are not liking with the new map, because I think you make a good point there. And it's interesting how you equivalate, you know, Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7. I think what you're basically talking about is it's not really buyer's remorse with Black Ops 6 because, you know, the DLC season, you know, kind of comes with the game. It's not like how it used to be where you had to pay for content and stuff like that. But what I gathered from your initial thoughts here is like, there was really no staying power with a lot of the Black Ops 6 maps. It's not like, to me, and this is no shade on that game because, you know, that game had its bright spots and had its lulls like every Call of Duty Zombies title, but it's not like, to me, let's go for the last 2 maps of BO6, Reckoning and Shattered Veil. It's not like Shattered Veil and Reckoning were as fun as they were on launch a week after launch date, if that makes sense. I have felt like Ashes of the Damned has been amazing, basically up to its same level on launch day than like right now. I feel like I could hop in and I'll have the same level of fun, which is pretty high on that map, that I had on day one. Astra Malorum feels almost a little bit better in that regards, where it's like, hey, the more I get to play with this map, the more I run around, the more I explore, the more I understand the lore, the more I get the voice quotes and you know, like Dempsey talking to Vaetherion, all these different things going on, and the more we actually discover, and even curse mode and all these different things, it feels like the staying power of Astra Malorum is really, really high, like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. Not saying that that's the whole map, you know, graded, you know, out of 10, but it's just one specific aspect of how I'm really enjoying Astra Malorum. But guys, make sure you stay around as well. We're going to talk about what we love about the map and what we want to change about the map. We're going to give 2 or 3 things, each of us, me and MZC. So that's going to be staged a little bit later on into the episode before we get into the community corner. So make sure you stick around, hit that like button, comment down below, like I said, your overall review and your score out of 10. Make sure you share this with a friend and make sure you're subscribed. Got those bell notifications on so you do not miss an upload from MZC. All right, MZC. Let's just talk kind of generalities here. You mentioned Oscar. Interesting to hear more about how you feel now, a couple of days removed. You know, the Ravager special rounds with the Meteor Shower, just some of these more interesting, unique aspects that make Astra Malorum what it is. I know you've been a big advocate talking about what available perks are on the map and just the general size and layout. So how about we get into kind of the base, level of Astra Malorum?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So let's start with like the map size, the layout, available perks, and then we'll get into like the individual special enemies and whatnot. But the map itself, Treyarch has called this about a medium-sized map. They used that same wordage last year with like Citadel. I kind of agree. I think this is actually, I don't know. I feel like this is more in between the Tomb and something like Citadel. Like it's not quite as small as Liberty Falls. It's not quite as small as the Tomb, but with the added area that you get into later on in the Easter egg, like that's a whole, it's not a massive part of the map, but that's a whole other area to go run around. And it's probably the size of at least one of the 3 main POIs on the map. So I'd say like the map size itself is like medium-ish,
here's how, just to interject, it feels bigger. This is the quickest comparison I could give, and I'm curious to hear what people would say. It feels bigger than Kino, but it's like a similar style to me, at least. Like how you could go down both sides and there's different, there's one room and then there's one area, then there's a second area and it meets at the top where the pack punch is. It feels bigger than Kino, but it almost is probably like the same size. That's
actually like I didn't even think about that, but that's now I'm thinking about it, that's exactly what it is. It's just a little bit, I'd say, a little bit bigger, maybe like 1.5 times the size of Kino, just for the main area of like the different main buildings on the asteroid. Because you've got, like you said, you've got the 1 or 2 areas you can choose to go from, but then the whole middle of the map is locked behind power, just like Kino was. And the whole middle of the map is basically like your way to cut through, your way to traverse. I feel like a lot of people don't even really utilize the middle of the map yet and haven't done that just because it's been a couple days in, but like that's where I find myself training the most, even though it's a little bit tighter than, let's say, the Abysmal Rim or Mars. I like the middle of the map area so much. I don't know, maybe it's because Wonder Fizz there, you got the armor and whatnot, but yeah, like the overall layout and size of the map I think is actually fine. A lot of people were a little bit worried about it being smaller than what they were expecting, with the stuff that they released to us before the map itself came out, because there weren't very many pictures. Like there weren't even really many like images, even in the trailer, where you're like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like all we really saw was the spawn area, and then I don't even know if we saw the Abysmal Rim, maybe a little bit of the Abysmal Rim, and then that one area where you go to the teleporter and you have like the majority of the Easter egg is centered around, but that was it. Like we didn't know about the middle of the map, we didn't know about the whole other side pretty much, and then of course Mars is hidden away and locked away behind the egg. But I think it's actually perfect. I think it offsets the complexity and the scale of Ashes of the Damned perfectly. Like it's not a small map by any means. This isn't Verrückt or Shino or Noctur und Toten or something like, or even Derice, it's a little bit bigger than that. But it's also not on the size of like Zetsubo no Shima or even Revelations to some degree, where you're like, man, we're just coming off of the launch map being basically Transit 2, where there's 6 maps caked into one plus space in between. I feel like it's actually really good to have this sort of a map where it's like, hey, if you want to hop on, you want to get your weapon set up, and you want to play a fun, 40-minute experience, it's not quite as dull as a survival map where you've got, Diner 115 or Exit 115 or Farm, where it's just basically hop on and you're good to go. But it's it's a little more complex than that, but it's not as much of a setup and as a hassle as something like Ashes of the Damned if you're just trying to hop on and level up your gun and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I know you haven't played it quite as much, but from what you've like you said, it was like Kino. So how do you feel about that?
Honestly, I just like, the more I think about it, you have to think of the ambitious setup that the Treyarch has gone for, and like, how did we get to this point? So, okay, you beat Vaetherion. Like, think about the maps within the story and the lore. And I know a lot of people probably do that inherently, but to like kind of take a step back and remove yourself one layer from the situation. We defeated Vaetherion after being transported, or after being teleported to a floating pyramid in the sky, mind you, where that boss fight takes place. The entity teleports us through space, being chased by Ravagers. We crash land on a geographical structure inside a skull floating in space. That's how this map opens up. So it's like
Saturn's ring. I didn't even notice this, but it's like actually in like the ring of Saturn. It's like right there in the asteroid belt. So
it's like they just got so many points from me just based on like, and I know we're not a huge fan of this word over here at PAP, but like the aura is just, there's nowhere else to describe it, like the setting and just the overall understanding of what you're playing within the game. I think the map layout is smart, and I'll offer this tidbit of information to people to kind of think on and percolate within their minds, because to me, all right, I think this is smaller than every map on Black Ops 6 besides Liberty Falls.
I think it's smaller than
maybe.
Tomb.
Yeah, I think it's close. I mean, playable space, like linearly, yes, it feels like the same size, maybe a little bit bigger than Tomb, but like playable space, like the Dark Ether part of Tomb is pretty big. Like that's a pretty big area. Plus the boss fight area off to the side of that as well. So it's maybe close, but I'm just trying to set this up as we haven't really gotten that many maps of this size in modern zombies, if you really think about it and boil it down. Even some of the Cold War maps, maybe I'm not going to do square footage comparison, but it seems like it's on the smaller end of the spectrum for modern zombies. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But to me, that's strategically very smart, because you come out of the gates with this expansive, multiple POIs, however many it is, 6-8 POIs on Ashes of the Damned. You come out of the gate so strong, and you have this extensive Easter egg where you're running over here and you're going this and you're going back to the clock, and then you're going and shooting off the rocket, and then you got to stop the lightning, and you got to drive around with all these wisps, and the whole map is centered around the car. I think it was so smart for them to come around with DLC 1 and say, hey, we're going to give you guys a more condensed experience, not because we don't love the large, play scale of something like Ashes of the Damned, but because basically for the last X amount of weeks, however long it's been, it hasn't even been 4 weeks, really, has it been, since launch? You've been running around on this large scale of a map, not only for Ashes of the Damned itself, but also for the Cursed, Relic Hunt altogether. I feel like if they would have went too ambitious with, let's say, another map that's Ashes of the Damned scale, not even that big, let's say it's even 75-80% as big as Ashes of the Damned, and not on the smaller scale like Astra Malorum, I feel like that would have been a little bit demoralizing to the player base, and people are going to disagree with me obviously with this, but we just had a very expansive and extensive, not only Easter egg hunt, but the relic hunt. Like I said, Astra Malorum to me feels so like it's in its own pocket of like size of map and experience of map. It almost feels like brand new and unique to zombies, and I think that's a criticism that they heard in between 6 and 7 leading up to this game being launched, that hey, all of these maps feel the same that we're playing in Cold War and Black Ops 6. As far as weapon progression, as far as armor, as far as upgrading your rarity, as far as what perks you're getting, it just kind of felt like, hey, we're transporting a model and then the setting around us is magically changing, and I don't feel immersed in the experience. This map is like, to me, this might be a hot take off top, this map to me is more immersive than Ashes of the Damned. I don't think that most people in the community are going to rate this map higher than Ashes of the Damned at the end of the day. I don't think I would either, just because of all things considered, but this map feels like it's amazing to hop on and you could do whatever you want to do. You could almost play it like a mini survival map. You could play it to get the wonder weapon. You could play it to get the wonder weapon and then do the Easter egg. And with all these challenges they came out with season 1 too, it's like the replayability of this and just how I feel when I load into a game of Astra Malorum feels really, really good and really, really clean. And there's unique stuff at every turn, Oscar and Mule Kick back. So there's a lot of different stuff that's going in the right direction for season 1 of, at least for zombies for the most part.
Yeah, I definitely want to hit on this before we move on, and we'll get moving here. But I really do think that this is one of, if not the most immersive maps in COD Zombies history, just based on like the sheer volume of what's going on. Like you look off to the side of the map and you're in the ring of Saturn. You're in Saturn's ring. Yeah, you're not moving or floating around or you're rotating or anything like that, but you're stuck in Saturn's ring. You're on, the observatory is what it is. It's not the craziest POI, but it's just like where you're at in space, doing all the Easter egg steps kind of feel like, okay, we're just hanging around here. But then when you actually get into Shangri-La and Mars and shit, like I was blown away the first time. So every time I go back there, I've done the Easter egg probably 7 or 8 times already. Every time I go back there, I'm still like, man, this is so sick. And it's just such a nice contrast from the actual like space. They don't even feel like the same map when you're there. You're so far away from being on that asteroid when you go to Mars. And it's like a completely different atmosphere. You got you've got the zero grav, you've got whatever. It's mind bending how different those can be. And like, I want to compare this to Classified in a sense where like Classified, you start off in the Pentagon, you're on the normal map 5, and then you teleport to Pack-a-Punch, which is at area 51 or whatever, the moon spawn room. Even though you go there, the map setting in the skybox at area 51 is still very similar to like the darkness inside of the Pentagon, where it's not really like that big of a switch up. This is like, it's kind of like the Tomb switch up where you go from even that, just the spawn room of Tomb. That's the only time you get kind of the sunshine going on. You go through the cave and stuff. By the time you get down there, you're kind of already used to like the darkness of the cave. And obviously the Dark Ether Nexus was cool. I'm not going to take away from that. I'm not going to say that like, it wasn't as cool as we thought it was, because it really was. That was a nice switch up there. But we don't really usually get this kind of, I'd say, like diversion in the middle of a map. Usually you go to the boss fight and it's something completely different, but this is just, it's a nice dude. I mean, the like I said, atmosphere, you've got the round change stingers are amazing, the music in the map's awesome. It's all around, it's just very, very immersive. But let's move on to our different enemies here. We've got Oscar and the Ravagers back. Really quickly with the Ravagers, like I know, again, this is before the map came out, everybody was like, oh, I don't want the Ravagers are back, blah blah blah. Like, I don't think that they necessarily have to go away after one map. If they're the only special enemy we get all year, okay, fine. Like, I kind of definitely want to see some switch up here and there. It'd be nice to see some switching up of our special enemies, but for first 2 maps, it's fine. It's whatever. They play into the map very well, especially with the intro cutscene, especially with the meteor showers, the special round. We didn't even talk about the special round of the meteors, dude. How sick is it when if you're inside, you're not affected by them, but when you go out in the middle of the map or you're out anywhere in space, and those meteors start coming down, those things will fucking stun you. In the higher rounds, those can be real dangerous if you're getting swarmed by Ravagers.
Yeah, and the Ravagers too, I think is, and people aren't going to like this, but that's a lore thing. Like the Shadowsmith announcer cowboy hat, like those are his things. Zombies predated him, well, allegedly. So like the zombies are there, but Ravagers are like his little minions. But here's the thing too, and that's what I'm saying though. Like the map is like it I don't even know how to describe it. Like it goes with your play style. It just gives you this experience where it's like, hey, you have to think one level deeper than just, oh, I'm going to go over here. If it, like you said, if it's a special round, I pretty much have to be inside unless I, really want to tempt fate. And this is another thing where I don't want to come on here and be like, oh, is every map going to compare to Ashes of the Damned? Like, we do this as the community, but it's like, all right, Ashes of the Damned, this map was obviously always going to get compared to it because this is your first DLC map. We only have so many things to go off of. Sure, we're comparing it to Black Ops 6, but it's like, hey, when you come out of the gate swinging like you did with AOTD, it's probably going to be the standard level for the rest of the DLC season, the rest of the lifestyle of the game. Okay, fine. But even go to Oscar, MZC, like, I'm hearing a lot of complaints about Oscar, and I'm willing to listen and hear those out and, digest what you're saying, and we could have a conversation about it, and maybe we still disagree at the end of the day, but it was at least civil. I'm just saying, people online or people in the YouTube comments, whatever it may be. But it's like, really think about it. Take the Wonder Weapon steps out of it, which I know it might be kind of tough for people, especially a lot of people in our audience, because it's like, hey, is that an annoying, Wonder Weapon step, Easter egg step? I could see your perspective on that, for the most part. But if you think about like Zurso, what elite enemy would you rather face, Zurso or Oscar? I have an easy answer, and it's Oscar all the time. It's George Romero done correct. It's innovating on an old, piece of intellectual property that made no sense for the most part, besides the lore of the map. And everybody knows George. If you're a Zombies fan, George. He was annoying. He was a bullet sponge. He gave you better rewards than Oscar, but this is what an elite enemy like that really should be doing. He serves a purpose. And to me, I get it. If you're a high rounder, you're going to say, well, it's not really possible to not think of him as an enemy that you have to kill. I don't think he should be killed. You just let him walk around the map. You play around him and you play around the map and you go on with your life. Like I said, if you're a high rounder, maybe it doesn't, if you encounter him, you have to do something about it, and he could be annoying, but it's like an annoying strategic enemy that I feel like you could. To me, the devs want enemies like him in the game for the players to adapt their play style and be like, hey, this might be difficult, but we've given you all the different resources and advantages to make sure it's less difficult than it already is, instead of, oh, here's the meta. Like, this was the Black Ops 6 problem. Here's the meta. We're going to run one gun. We're going to run these augments. I feel like the customizability of this game and the different enemies that they're giving and throwing at us makes a lot more sense so far through 2 maps than anything that we saw in Black Ops 6, personally, in my opinion. But I don't know. I like the Ravagers on this map. I like Oscar. I think he's amazing. He's really cool. He's aesthetically pleasing. He makes sense with the map. The Thurston step, everything is kind of interwoven, and it all makes sense at the end of the day. But I know you got some thoughts on Oscar, and maybe if he should be tweaked a little bit.
See, again, this is where it was like the first 3 or 4 playthroughs, I'm like, bro, fuck this guy. Like, I can't stand him. Like, I'm trying to get this Easter egg done. He's not cooperating. I'm trying to do other stuff, and he's just like pulling up and making the zombies sprint at me. The sprinting zombies is a little annoying. I can definitely get people's complaints there, but the more that I've played with him and against him and kind of tried to understand his patterns and where he goes and how to adjust to him, he's really not that bad. I mean, like, damage wise, yeah, he's a sponge for sure. Absolutely. 100%. I think that you should definitely get a little bit more than a little toy trinket that gives you a friendly Ravager every time you kill him. Like, it's, that's a little crazy, but dude, like when I was doing the round 100, he's really not that hard to deal with. You just take him into the middle of the map and use the rocket trap, get him down to at least half health in one pull of that. If you got Casimirs, you don't have to worry about the zombies hitting you. And then from there, you can either just take him down yourself with the weapon that you have, or you can go up to him with a knife and try and finish him out with Ether Shroud. Like, he's not the end of the world, but there's no way to cheese him like Uber Klaus when Reckoning came out, or like eventually you get to a point where the amalgams are just, you use a death machine, they're cooked. Like, they're not going to do anything to you. They're not, it's nothing like that. He's actually a tough enemy to think about and deal with. And I think for sure, this should be a map where, let's say Oscar pulls up on you in the high round, the strategy isn't, oh, I pull out Ether Shroud and I just eviscerate him and I go on with my high rounds. Like, this might be one of the harder high rounds in the modern era because you have to adjust to Oscar. And I like the way that they are kind of incentivizing you to do that with the trap in the middle of the map and say, hey, take a break from sitting in the corner with the rocket launcher and go to the middle of the map and pull the trap and run around with Oscar and then try and finish him off and get back to what you were doing. But yeah, I know we kind of want to talk about what we want to change later, but I think this is a good point to hit at this. The one change I think Oscar definitely needs is some sort of like loot pool for killing him, to incentivize you to kill him. I know you're not supposed to kill him. The idea is like you just let him roam around and he doesn't bother you until he comes into your area, and then you run away and let him do his patrol and you keep going. But I think that this boss is so clearly designed to be like George, or at least like pay homage to George from Call of the Dead, that like I think he definitely needs some sort of, I think personally, I think it should be a perk every time. Like, not from the Easter egg steps. If you kill him with those traps to get like the one tap or whatever,
right,
like, you definitely shouldn't get anything from that. But I'm saying if you go out of your way to kill this guy, multiple times over, burn a ton of ammo and a ton of time to kill him, I think like a free perk that eventually, like, they don't treat this the way in game, but like, let's say you do get 12 perks right in the game, or you get a couple of free perks from him, you buy some from the Wonder Fizz and you buy some on the map, and now you're like perked out. I think after you kill him from that point on, you should get perma perks too, or the eternal perks, just to kind of keep your scaling going, so that in the 20s, 30s, 40s, if you take the time to sit there and kill the guy, for sure you should have that opportunity. Like, I know that the TED trials are already pretty easy and they give you one, but like, again, what's one more or bonus one for the players that want to go out of their way to kill him? Because like, being honest, like, I'm not going to kill him every game. I'm not going to load in and say I'm killing Oscar and taking the time to do that, spend the 5 minutes on a lower round to kill him every single time I come into the game. But if I was setting up a high round, or if I was setting up an Easter egg and Cursed, or if I was setting up an Easter egg with you guys, I'd say, hey, let's just kill him. Let's get the free perk. Let's get that free eternal perk, and let's try and get as many as we possibly can off of him. But that's not going to wreck every single game, because I can promise you not everybody's doing that every game. So I think that would be cool. I've seen a couple people mention like a Wonder Waft too dropping from him. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be a great callback to George. I'm sure they could just Control C, Control V that into the map and have that be part of what drops from him. But you're going to get people that are going to be like, well, it's reused assets. Or imagine if that had happened or it had come out, 2 months ago or 2 weeks ago that, oh, hey, the Wonder Waff is a wonder weapon on Astra Malorum through the leaks and the codes and people coming out. And that sort of negativity around the map would, not really bode very well for the sentiment around Astra Malorum. So, I can see where they're like, yeah, let's not do that because we don't want people to get upset. But I think that's something that, like, would you be okay with that? Obviously the Call of the Dead one was a power-up drop. You get 18 shots or however many it was, the Wonder Waff, and then it would go away until the next time you kill George. But,
I would probably disagree with. I would disagree with you. I don't even, not even Waff, but like, it would be interesting if there was even I would say 5 to 10% chance, maybe not even 10, probably like in between 1 to 5% chance. Imagine you killed him on you got the power on round 5 and you killed him, and he had a 5% chance to drop the Wonder Weapon. That would be pretty cool. Instead of having to do the 3 different Oscars into the traps to get it, that would be kind of interesting. I don't think the WAF makes sense. I'm on the other side of the coin with the free perks. Like you said, I think the TED tasks are just, sometimes you get 2 perks from the TED tasks. Like for me, I feel like that's so balanced and so perfect that once again, I'm on the side of the ledger where it's like, hey, he doesn't need to be killed besides doing the steps for the Easter egg. Let me tell you my biggest worry, my biggest issue with him, and maybe it's something I'm kind of overthinking and over evaluating, but if they do survival maps from Astra Malorum, he literally can't be on them. That's my biggest problem. Like, you can't put him in that. Like, if you had a Mars survival map, you literally can't put him in that because there's no... Like, the Zursa, okay. But, like, if I turn the power on, alleged power in the Mars area on round 8 and, like, an Oscar spawn, like, it's just not going to work because you can't avoid them. The Zursa at least makes sense with the survival maps on AOTD. That's my biggest gripe with him if I had to have a gripe. That's just, they might not even put him in those, they'll probably give us doppelgas or, who knows. But it's like, that's another thing too, MZC. Kind of off topic, off tangent, but I cannot praise them and I cannot give Treyarch enough flowers for something that I have not seen one person. And if you could name one person, if you know anybody, put them in the comments below. I have not seen one person praise them on this. Maybe I'm living under a rock. The elite difficulty being raised and the special spam going away is amazing. I'm loving it. I was playing earlier. I played like 28, 29 rounds Astra Malorum earlier. I'm like, this is perfect. There's no there's not a special every round. There's not a doppelganger. There's not manglers. There's not like a parasite randomly popping up. I'm like, this change has been one of the biggest quality of life gameplay changes 2 maps into Black Ops 7 that I feel like was such a big issue and such a big gripe in Black Ops 6 to the point where they literally nerfed manglers, like the mangler spawn rate, and memed it all year long on April Fool's saying, hop into our limited edition mangler only playlist. Like, that's how really of a problem it was in Black Ops 6. Haha, funny, like Jaja, like we get it at the end of the day. But like, I think the balancing is so much better as far as enemy types in this game, all the way from even regular zombies, believe it or not, all the way up to the boss fight. So I wanted to get that little sidebar in there as well, because I just think the balancing has been so good to me.
Yeah, they're really dialed in. I know people were kind of upset about the doppelgast on farm survival. Like, I get it. I wish it wasn't there too, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But when you have a large scale map like this, or a larger scale map like this, I think it's perfect. I love it. I love not having to deal with those fuckers. I love being able to just run around, even without the Ravagers everywhere, every 5, 6, 7 zombies. Don't have to worry about them. I think it's just perfect. They dialed it in perfectly. They've listened to the community. They found a way to, not completely take away the threat of, hey, we're just going to sit in the corner with an RPG or a wonder weapon for 999 rounds. You've got to deal with Oscar. But yeah, dude, they've completely kind of dialed it in and figured out a good formula for it. I hope it continues that way throughout the DLC season. But before we get on to the wonder weapon and the main quest, I just want to hit on this really quickly. I talked about this a little bit ago, yesterday on Twitter. The available perks on this map are amazing. They're terrible, but they're amazing. Like, it completely makes you change the way you set up. Like, with Astra Malorum, or sorry, with Ashes of the Damned, I think every single perk machine, every perk has a perk machine on the map, I think, or most of them, or every single one of the good ones. There's Vulture.
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah, I think that every single one, well, especially except for Mule Kick now, but yeah, I think everyone was on there. But Juggernog, Double Tap, Vulture Aid, 3 S+ tier perks in this game were all in Ashwood. So it was like, I don't even have to progress past Ashwood if I don't want to, because eventually the Wonderfizz is going to spawn back in Spawn. I can train over at Blackwater Lake. I don't have to go anywhere. I can just play to this point of the map and not have to worry about it. I can be set up. I can just get those 3 perks and not even think about it for the next 10, 15, 20 rounds while I set up my weapon. Here on Astra Malorum, though, you've got Jug, you've got Quick, you got Speed, you got Stamina. Those are your core 4 perks. The other ones that are available on the map are Mule Kick, which is actually pretty good. I was shitting on Mule Kick before it came out. I still want to see Widow's Wine. But, with the augments, Mule Kick's pretty good. But I'm not picking that one up right away. You've got Wisp Tea.
Wisp Tea in the back, yep.
I don't really want it, to be honest with you. That's it. And that's good. And I think that's it. I think those are the only 6 perks on the map. Those are the only 6 machines that you can buy from. So you either have to basically get 4 perks to get Wonderfizz to spawn in before 20, or wait until around 20 for Wonderfizz to spawn, or try and get lucky with the TED trials. Those are the only ways that you can get Double Tap, Deadshot, Vulture Aid. And I know I like the maps like Reckoning where you can just get set up really quickly and that's all you have to think about, right? Those are fun. They're fun to have maps like that. But with survival maps, with Ashes of the Damned, I don't want every experience to play the same way. It's perfect how they did this. I love the way they kind of, not only mixed the perk machines around and kind of gave you some 2 of the new ones in there, but really just made it so I can play this map a little bit differently. I don't have to think I can just actually be like, okay, maybe now I got to pack a punch. Maybe I got to go get rarity. Like I did the Easter egg today without any perks or without any gobblegums for the first time. Before I would cheese 1 here or 2 in the boss fight, maybe bring in, an extra perk or 2 or whatever I can do. The first time I'd done it, just vanilla plain experience, start from 0, work my way up. You can still get to the boss fight with everything you need around late 20s, early 30s, but the setup to get there is very different because you got to prioritize the points you need to open up the map, points you need to pack a punch. You also got to get the Wonder Weapon. You got to kind of worry about Oscar. You got to think about those things. Again, the initial, there's extra salvage to be spent here. You're going to have, there's a free quest they found for Cryo Freeze, but if you don't want to do that, you're going to have to buy Cryo Freeze for 500. You're gonna have to switch over to Fireworks at some point. That's 1,000. Essence is a lot more. It's harder to come by this year. So overall, the way you play this map is so vastly different from anything from this year, even last year too. I don't think there were any maps that were like this because even Tomb had PhD, which was broken last year. It had Deadshot. Didn't have double tap at the time, but
it had PhD and Spawn.
Exactly. Yeah, you get. You're not dying off the rip. You pick that up, you can slide wherever you want. You can slide into zombies infinitely. But yeah, no, the way that they've really kind of, it seems thought about every detail of the map, it's great. Even the way the arsenal stations are spread out. You've got Wonderfizz, you've got a plate vest in the middle of the map, but there's only, 2 crafting tables here or there. The gobblegum machines are pretty spread out. It's very interesting. You kind of have to play risky if you need to go get something somewhere. It's not like Ashes of the Damned where every POI has pretty much everything you need, right? Or if you're at a different point, you have to go too far away. But yeah, man, I think that's
and I can hear the comments now. Oh, paid shills, and because I get it. We're 30 plus minutes in, and I don't think we said anything bad about this map, guys. We're gonna get to some things we want to see improved, or some things we aren't huge fans of, and there's some of that in the community corner as well. So stick along, hold on with us. But I have to keep going. I have to piggyback off of what you're saying, because with the ag. And I don't know if they design stuff like this. I'm assuming maybe they do, but maybe they don't. With the egg, the perk layout is so good. It is so good. By the time you get power on and you get that first Oscar in, and I'm going to the electric trap, I'm picking up Jug and I'm killing that Oscar there. Then if I'm running and getting the car battery with the PAP weapon, I'm getting quick revive over there. I just feel like it's so succinct with the map, it just everything kind of lines up, and if you're doing the egg, it's perfect. I'm killing them with the rocket blast with the shards, and then I'm picking up speed coal at the same time. There's a route to this map that feels really organic, and it doesn't feel pressed or like I'm going out of my way to do things, and I'm over here for this part of the egg, and that's the benefit, and that's why people don't like it, but that's the benefit of a smaller scale map, is that everything seems to be within, arm's length, reaching distance, where it's like, hey, even the other day when we were doing it for, me and your first time, it's like, hey, we couldn't get the brain out. We're like, oh, we didn't have the saw. But that was like, hey, we figured that out and had that, fixed, and we had the brain in 2 seconds because I just ran two rooms away and picked it up out of the case. So yeah, I mean, the perks, I agree with you. Just not even what's on the map as far as the perks. Obviously, they were always going to have mule kick, and you're going to have your legacy perks as well, but it's like the placement of them just feels so good, and it doesn't feel like that Ashwood feel where it's like, hey, I have to go here to get half of the stuff that I need to really perform and really play good during this game that I'm playing.
No, 100%. I think that kind of leads us right into the Wonder Weapon main quest, as you were talking about the perks, the locations where you need to be for killing Oscar and doing those things. Start with the Wonder Weapon, the LGM1. This is where I think things are going to get a little critical for me, because up to this point, there's no there's no fakeness here. I'm going to tell you guys how I really feel about this stuff. The LGM1, I think, is one of the coolest, if not the coolest looking Wonder Weapon of all time. It is so visually pleasing. The inspect is insane. Like the camos that you can get to put on this pack, it looks great. I think it's just a tad bit underwhelming. I don't think I know we were going to talk about this a little bit later, but I have to get it in now, because otherwise I'm just going to steal
it in. Get it in.
So the way the LGM1 works is like, you basically have infinite ammo. It recharges very quickly. You pack a punch, it goes from 3 shots to 6, and then I think the bullets recharge a little bit faster on the packed version. It's cool. It's good. The damage scales very well into the high rounds. It does kill. What they need to do with the LGM1 is when you shoot, so you shoot like a cluster of UFOs, and the UFOs will like all swarm a zombie, and then they'll laser kill the zombie, and then everything disappears. They need to make this so that one bullet spreads to like 3 to 5 zombies. You'd have to do a little bit like 5 might be a little egregious. It might make the rounds like
ether blade functionality.
Exactly. Even 3 of those would be fine, because you get 6 shots and they regenerate very quickly. They need to up that to like 3 zombies so that it spreads. So like it boom, boom, boom. The UFOs attack a zombie, and then the cluster moves on to another 2 zombies to make it so it's not just like it kills 1 zombie, and then by the time I fire another one, it's right there, but it's not quite finished yet. This is a thing, a complaint we had a little bit last year with things being underbaked. The map, I'm not saying the map is at all. I'm just saying with the Wonder Weapon, it's like just extend that radius to 2 more zombies, maybe even 3. And I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be too OP, because with the time it's going to take for the actual UFOs to spread to other zombies, I doubt you'll be able to just sit in a corner with this and just not be touched and phased or whatever. And 2, it's going to make training so much better, because right now you can train, you can run around, there's great areas to do it, but like imagine running around on Mars with this thing, and you can the whole high round strategy is basically get to Mars and then use the LGM out there in the middle of nowhere and just run around out there. There's no Oscar on Mars, right? So all the high rounders that are like, oh, I don't want to deal with Oscar. You got unlimited ammo. You can go away from Oscar. I think that's what they have in mind, and what their whole idea with this is like, hey, if you're going to go for high rounds, we want you to train around on Mars. But I don't know if I don't think it's bugged. I just think that, like, I don't want to say it's not tested either. Whatever the case is, they just need to up this to like 2 to 3 zombies, and I think it'll be perfect. People will really enjoy it. It'll be amazing. You have unlimited ammo. It's great. Camos are great on it. The weapon itself is really sick. Inspect is sick. It's like a 6.5 out of 10 Wonder Weapon right now for just aesthetic alone. If they could just, like I said, expand that radius, we're looking at like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 Wonder Weapon here. I really hope they do that, and I really hope they get this sorted out before Christmas break, because I just don't want them to have a situation. I keep thinking back to Citadel last year where BO7 really lost steam, was the Christmas break not having the swords done and patched and fixed for Citadel going into Christmas break, and then having a couple other like game breaking bugs going into the holiday break. I want a quick side tangent here really quickly. When I was in the community every single day, but not a YouTuber, I was the guy that was like, bro, the AAA studio, you got to do this. You got to figure it out. Like, come on. I paid money for the game. It should be this easy. Like, we should be getting the fixes. We should be getting the buffs or whatever. And then when MWZ dropped, I was doing the camo grinds. And when I got to Christmas break, I was just finishing up with Bioluminescent, which was the MW2 weapons. And there was a bug with season 1 where a lot of those weapons weren't tracking properly. Every day I was like tweeting into the void, like, bro, they got to fix these. They got to fix these. I can't progress in the camo grind because why is there not a fix? And then it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, they're on Christmas break right now. Like, I get it. I understand we want things to be fixed. We want things instant gratification in this society. But at the end of the day, these people are humans. They're devs. They're individuals that are coming from all over the world and all over the United States to go work in LA and go work for Treyarch. They got to go home and see their families, right? Last year, where we lost steam, like I said, was with Citadel when everyone went home. So I can understand and sympathize from the fact that, like, hey, these holiday hours and stuff, like, go home, see your families, take a week or two off, like, get what you need to done, recharge in your personal life and stuff. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying that, like, okay, listen, this year, let's not lose any steam here. I know we're gonna have some good holiday LTMs, but before we go on break, we just need to get a buff for the Wonder Weapon so that people that are getting the game for the first time over Christmas break, getting the really getting into playing the game when they have time, whether it's break from school, break from work, more time to play the game and experience Astra Malorum, can go, damn, this Wonder Weapon is sick, or I love Astra Malorum, I love the Wonder Weapon, as opposed to being like, I don't know how I feel about this, because last year with the swords, it was like people were playing with them and like, I want to play with these until they get buffed, and then it took a month to get buffed, and it was like, well, no, I don't want to play these at all. I'm kind of looking forward to the next map, or I'm just kind of over it at this point. So I think we're in a much better state than we were last year, but with the LGM one, please, just, even if it's not a damage buff, just extend the radius. I promise you, no one's gonna be upset about this change. From what I've seen, everybody's really in agreement on this. I know with Pack 4 and Cursed, it's even better, but I just think from a casual perspective, most people probably might not even be touching the Wonder Weapon, but for the people that do go out of their way to get it and will be experiencing it for the first time over Christmas break, it would be awesome for those guys to have whatever changes are going to be made for it before then, just because I feel like they're coming at some point, but if we could just, squeeze those out, it'd be perfect. But I mean, I know you got to use the Wonder Weapon the one night. How are you feeling about it? Thoughts in the same agreement here, or are you kind of just like, it's whatever?
So I got a couple of thoughts with the LGM, because all right, number one, somehow, like you even touched on, made it cooler and more aesthetically pleasing than the Necrofluid Gauntlet, and I thought that was an amazing looking, and the inspect, everything with that was amazing. So kudos for that. My thing is that I think they have a slight framing problem with the Wonder Weapon so far in this game, and granted, there's only 2 of them, but here's my biggest pain points with the LGM. Number one, it's not that I could get over something if it's not good, if the quest matches its usability. The quest takes too many steps and is too long. I'm not saying it's difficult. I don't think killing Oscar 3 times, getting all those, I don't think it's difficult. I'm just saying the Necrofluid Gauntlet is subjectively, I guess, but in my opinion, easier to build. It's easier to acquire, 100%. And it's better. So that's a framing problem from the studio, in my opinion. Like, if this was only like 2 Oscars and I could get it 1 Oscar round generation spawn earlier, like 1 cycle earlier, that I would even be like, oh, okay, like this isn't the end of the world. It makes sense. Like it's weighing out appropriately. Number 2, on that aspect of the situation, and maybe this is the theme with them for the whole game. I would be very surprised if it was, but so what's our common theme been here through 2 maps? 2 Wonder Weapons that essentially have unlimited ammo. Maybe this is how they're trying to balance that type of weaponry, but like, guys, if anyone is out there listening, like, with ammo boxes and stuff, like think about this Wonder Weapon, 10 years ago when you're out of ammo and you're waiting for a max ammo. It would be peak. It'd be amazing. But it's like, I would rather have, all right, here's my options for everybody. Think about it in your own head and what you would choose at the end of the day. Would you rather have a weak Wonder Weapon in 2025, modern zombies, ammo caches, gobble gums, all this stuff where you could get ammo? Just take that into account, obviously. Would you rather have a weak Wonder Weapon, but it has unlimited ammo? Or would you rather have a really strong Wonder Weapon and you need to buy ammo? I'm taking the second option all the time. I could run over to the cache and I could get, however much it is, 5,000, 10, however much it is if you're fully packed, and I could go on with my life. But I know, hey, if Oscar's walking down this way, like, I don't see the unique, uniqueness of this wonder weapon. Like beside outside of the looks, what's it good for? It doesn't really kill zombies that well, or it doesn't kill a lot of them. It doesn't have really any effect on Oscar. It seemed pretty good in a couple of the steps in the boss fight, and from some of the clips I've seen, and it takes down the boss really quick, and this that whatever. If that's even supposed to be how it's supposed to work. It's not like it's super elite against the Ravagers. Like, imagine it had a secondary function, or once you got it to PAP 3, like, it killed like 15 Ravagers at a time or something like that, and you could just go through those rounds like that.
It's good against Oscar when you get it to triple Pack-a-Punch, and it's even better against him when you get it to ultra rare, like a Pack 4 in Cursed. But again,
but is it good enough for you to go out of your way, even with the unlimited ammo, and find them on the map and just murk them really quick, and then, or are you just still avoiding them?
No. You're still trying to avoid them.
That's what I'm saying.
Them down a little bit faster. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like I said, I don't think from a damage perspective, if you buff the damage here, like it one-shot zombies when it's triple papped. It's just the issue with it is that the time to kill, because it one-shot, like the time it takes to actually kill the zombies is a lot lower. But also, like, if you buff the damage, Oscar's going to become irrelevant. Like, he'll be so easy to kill with this thing because of the regenerative ammo, because of how good the weapon's going to be against him. Like, I just think I just genuinely think, like, Oscar, you don't need to touch his damage. You don't need to touch anything about Oscar. You could just leave him roaming around the map, maybe add something to him. But with the wonder weapon, like, because there's no Oscar threat most of the time, because there's no Ravager threat most of the time, you're really only worried about the zombies. This thing should just be really good against the zombies. That's it. Like, this thing doesn't need to be like, it's slightly helpful against Oscar, or it's okay for the boss fight. Like, this thing just needs to crowd control on this map for the first stage of the boss fight, and then also for people that are running around just training with it or high rounds. This would be a casual, friendly wonder weapon. It'd be fun for everybody if you could just do good against the zombies and maybe have some other meta for Oscar down the line with some weapon that gets added in season 4, or with the boss fight. Spoiler: the Jaegers are insane against it. Like, without any sort of cheese. There was like a bug going around where if you use Frenzied Guard paired with the wonder weapon, you could just cut through the boss very quickly. Like, if once that gets patched, you got like 1 or 2 meta weapons for the boss fight. The LGM could be really, really good against just crowd control zombies, and then you either just leave nothing to Oscar and be like, listen, we want this to be a high this is how the boss is, this is how you're going to play around the boss, and leave it at that, and we're in a perfect situation. To me personally, that's just what I think I would want to see from what needs to be tweaked right now between both just the LGM and Oscar. Although, how about that? I was going to say this earlier and I forgot. We're in agreement here that this is like a Black Ops 1 style map, right? Like Keynote or Totem,
I would say
Call
so.
of the Dead. This is more of like a traditional, small
like
to medium size, smallish to medium, almost a medium sized map with a pretty light quest. Personally, I think it's not too bad once you do it a couple times. What about like I don't want to give percentages here, but what about a possible chance to get a perk or a bonfire sale from Oscar, like the Pentagon Thief? Like, if he never damages you and you kill him, you get a 30-second run to the Pack-a-Punch, and it's, I mean, what was it in 5? It was 50 to first. The Pack-a-Punch in 5 was 5,000 to 1,000. So it was 80% off.
I'm in for the bonfire, or I'm in. Like I said, I already think I even replied to your tweet, but like 2 rounds of, it's a power up, 2 rounds of free fire. You're not using any of your ammo. 2 rounds of golden armor, and then it goes away.
What about
like just have another incentive to get rid of them, or have a little bit of reward when you get rid of them.
What about that's the scaling like ether tool? Even if you don't want to go and make a bonfire for it, or you think that
they haven't put that in this game, have they?
I know. I don't think they're well, you could get a lot of salvage if you were smart with Chompy and the pods, or like the plants.
They probably just said if they put that in TED Tasks, probably like, we'll just keep it in there.
Yeah, we'll just keep it there. But like, I don't know, man. I think that'd be kind of cool. What about like the potential of like you either get an ether tool or a pack crystal? Because like pack crystals, they spawn out of the TED trials, but they're not very.
They're very rare.
They're very rare. It's very uncommon. Yeah, I think you get more. I've pulled more Mark IIs than pack crystals from the TED trials. So like this would be a good way to be like, hey, if you kill Oscar before round 10, Pack-a-Punch 1 between round 11 and 20 pack 2, and if you do it at like 30 plus, you get free pack 3. I think that'd be kind of a fair way to balance this out a little bit, but I don't know, I'm just spitballing. I just think that from what I've seen in the general community sentiment around this map is that everything's really good, but people are kind of fed with Oscar. I think that's more of a casual problem, to be honest with you, not to be an elitist and sound like a dick, but I think that
I think that's just really, a misunderstanding the situation problem, though. Like, I actually think, and I like, obviously, it's just, this is speculation, but like, I legitimately think that the devs were like, hey, he's used for the Easter egg, and you're not supposed to even shoot at him the rest. Dude, the first time I booted up on launch day and played solo, the first box spin I got was a ray gun. That's why I knew something was up, and we were obviously doing our thing, and I told you, it was round 8, I had a ray gun, and it took all of the ray gun ammo to get him to like a quarter health. I'm like, yeah, something's not right here. It's like, this is, not that it wasn't right, but it's like, hey, there's a little thing that's going on here that we need to be cognizant of and pay attention to, because he's not really supposed to be killed, in my opinion. He doesn't even dude, I told you this, I said I've never seen an elite enemy in zombies you could sneak up on. You got to be right on this dude's ass to get the Thurston code for a long time, and he just is, patrolling enemy, reading enemy 20. I'm like, he's a bot. He's hilarious though, and he looks great, and I think he's cool as shit.
We need some Oscar merch, man. I was thinking about this yesterday. I need an Oscar YouTube.
We need an Oscar inject.
That would be insane. That would actually
Wouldn't that be insane?
That would be insane. I know we were asking for that last year. We're like, hey, where's the amalgam inject? Where's the Uberklaus inject? But I think it'd be sick to get an Oscar one this year. I don't know.
Imagine an Oscar inject in the boss fight, and all the zombies in the arena, you could do the sprinting thing, and they're all on your side, and they start attacking the needle.
That would be insane, dude. That'd
peak.
That would be peak.
And you're throwing the UFO, you're throwing his little like saucer things at the and you're shielded up, you got health up.
We're never getting it because for high rounds,
super egg.
We're never getting it.
Not with that attitude. All right.
I would have to be a little more balanced, but yeah, man. I think we're pretty much in agreement with most of the stuff here. Let's talk about the quest and then get into the community corner. So the quest, I've done it close to 10 times. Originally, I was like, yeah, this is not even close to the Ashes level of quest. The more I do this, the more I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm fucking with this. The theme of this episode is like, the more I play the map and the more I understand it and the more I really like sink my teeth into it, the more I'm like, fuck, this is really good, man. Like, it's not to be like glaze, like, hammer it home. I said it last year too. Like, after a week or two, it was like, okay, the maps are good, but I don't know, the staying power isn't there. This quest, the first couple of times I was like, I don't know. I really liked Ashes because it just felt like it flowed very well. And this one was kind of like, there's a lot of shit you got to do. Oscar got so many things. But like, once you have your own little strategy for it, we're like, hey, the first time Oscar spawns, I take him here. And then I go and I get some more, the next 2 rounds while he's just not on the map, I rack up my points and I pack a punch, or I go and get, a TED task done during one of the rounds and get a little beefed up there. And then he comes back and I kill him in another area. And then I go and do that and I keep setting up a little bit more. And while he's away, you can sit there and go, I'm going to go get the directional planets because those are always in the map. So I'm going to figure out where these 3 planets need to be aligned so I can have this for later in the egg. And then he comes back the third time, kill him. You got another 2 rounds, couple of TED tasks in there. By the time you start to actually get into the main quest, you could already, if you're being smart about it, you could already have like two or three perks from the TED tasks. You could have 2 or 3 that you've bought, and you could pack a punch once if you're not using gobblegums and get yourself rarityed up, maybe even a 2-plate fest. So like, the more I've played this, I'm like, okay, I can actually develop a strategy in between the Oscars spawning in where I kind of get myself a little more situated and set up. And then by the time you get the wonder weapon, you're like, okay, now he's going to come back and we're going to have to follow him around the map. And then you get into the puzzle section, which is pretty much once you get the wonder weapon, it's downhill from there. It's really just basically how fast can you run around and solve all the puzzles. And the more times you do it, the better it gets. The better you get at it, and the easier it becomes. You can kind of micromanage, and I'm gonna get the puzzle pieces here, or with the bookcase step. Once you figure out the books are in the same case every game. So once you see the code, you can be like, okay, it's literally 221 or 112, whatever. Like, it's not hard. Solving it for the first time is a little difficult, but once you do it a couple of times, get the hang of it. It's easy peasy stuff. So yeah, and then of course. What do you think about the quest leading up to the portal?
So here's the thing. This is where I want to, and back to giving Treyarch, high praise, because I think the most creative an interesting thing that I've seen from them through the first two main maps of this game is that they are both specifically, in my opinion, they're both specifically designed to be a co-op experience. However, they did an amazing job of having different co-op experiences with each map. Ashes of the Damned, you're all really supposed to be in Tessie. Yes, if you're good high level players and you could multitask pretty much every Easter egg that they've ever released. I'm not gonna act like that's not the case if you're pretty good players, but they literally said, oh yeah, we want Tessie to be the fifth member of your squad, and you guys are all rolling around in the truck and all this and that, and like even some of the steps in that map, like they force you to do the when you do the blood sacrifice step, they force you all into that room. They're like, hey, we're all getting in here and this and that. Astra is still a co-op experience, but when me and you were running through it the first time, what were we basically always saying to each other? What can we be doing right now? And it's not me and you have to go to the same place. Sure, there's some parts of that, but it's like, hey, I'm going to go to this part of the map and do this. I'm going to run over here and pick up the saw. There's all these different things that you could be doing where it's like, hey, if we don't have an Oscar on the round, or, one person's taking Oscar, getting him with one of the traps. And then, yeah, you have to come together and you have to combine and you have to be there really when the portal opens to get there to Mars, especially past that, because of how you have to get the artifact down and, a lot of those steps and looking through. Even the end is like, hey, you come together at the end to look at the symbols and all this different stuff. But really, if you have good coordination, it's like, it reminds me, and they've done this a little bit. They did this a little bit with Black Ops 6. It reminds me of like a competitive gaming experience where it's like, hey, we're calling out what we're doing on the map and there's a purpose behind every movement. And it was such a 180 from AOTD, but in such a refreshing way where it's like, I feel like if you want to have success on Ashes of the Damned, you have to be together patrolling and going around the map. And Astra, it's like we could kind of be doing our own things and then we're coming together for TED tasks, we're coming together for the teleporter and the Mars steps, but besides that, we could really roam around and be our own player but still have that squad experience, and then obviously have to get together for the boss fight. But I don't know, I like it. I think it this is a weird map, MZC, like weird in a good way, because like it reminds me of like a Kino style, but this Easter egg, you're gonna love this Easter egg kind of reminds me of like Firebase Z's Easter egg, which I'm a huge fan of, I'm a big fan of. Is it probably a little bit longer and probably a little bit more difficult and obviously a more difficult boss fight? Yes, but I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, this is kind of what it reminds me of.
I think you got to try it solo, not in like a bad way or anything like that, but just like it. You have to.
We'll try it.
You have to like micromanage this map solo. Like you can't let it get away from. And it's like I like this in this game. I'm like Ashes was a little more forgiving because of the perk layout, but like you have to be on your shit in this game. Like you have to be paying attention. I like the challenge in solo. A lot of people are like, bro, the boss fights costed in solo. It's this game is hard in solo. I am a solo player. I enjoy the challenge. This is a much needed difficulty boost from last year and even just Cold War in general. Like last year was definitely a step up in terms of difficulty, but again, once you got to the augments, once you got a gun like the haymaker, whatever the fuck it was called, the Maelstrom, like it was GG's, right? Like you're good, you're set up, you're chilling. But like this game, it just seems like they've really balanced it very well, where like, yeah, you do have a weapon like the Jaeger that's good in the boss, but if you're running the Jaeger from start to finish, you're going to be buying ammo a lot in the lower rounds, even if you have, like, because you can't get Vulture Raid. You can't get Vulture Raid until you get that. So unless you get lucky from the TED trial, you're cooked. Like, right? Like last year, I was like, oh, you can run pistols or you can run these weapons because I could just go buy Vulture Raid from, starting at whenever, you're good. Like, the setup was there. This is a much more strategic zombies experience, and it's still in the modern era of stuff. Like, this is, I think, the most refined the modern era has been in terms of their systems. Obviously, you can disagree with armor and salvage and whatnot, but this is, I think, as good as it gets in terms of like modern mechanics. This is the pinnacle of like what they've been able to dial in here. This is the third rendition of the trials. They were dog shit in Cold War. They were okay last year, like they were all right, but then this year
they were good in Cold War. Don't disrespect the Cold. They were cool. They had the reward pillars and everything.
No, they were cool.
Cut it out.
They were cool. But outside of day one, when the map first launched, they had the odds juiced for the wonder weapons. They were cool because it was like every time I do a challenge, I'm almost guaranteed.
Yeah, I got the Ray K.
Yeah, but then they patched it. At like a day later, or the odds for those trials were down, and it was like, why am I doing that? There's no point in this. But last year, step up. It was a little better. I'm not going to lie. You know, the salvage was nice. The points were nice. You maybe get lucky and get a perk here and there, something cool. This year, it's like every time a TED task comes up, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what I'm doing
sprinting.
right now. I'm sprinting there. I'm feeding for a free. I'm feeding for the eternal perks, dude. Like,
feeding for TED is crazy.
They're
Remember everybody dog walked the screenshot of it too? Like, what is this doing on? Who cares what it looks like on the map? We're in the dark ether fighting in a pyramid and fighting on Mars.
Yep.
So, Ted, what is Ted's head doing on the map? Gives a rip. He gives you free perks.
Nah, dude, all around, this is they're dialed in with the majority of stuff. Again, if it comes down to you just don't like salvage, you just don't like armor, you just don't like 3 pack-a-punches, like, at this point, it's to each your own. It's fine. But like, if I would, you know, I understand that's what people don't like, but if you haven't bought the game yet, or you're just like kind of out on it, like this is as good as the refinement gets, I think, in my opinion. And it's definitely a step up again, even from last year. But moving on to the last step of the Easter egg, you get teleported through a portal. You end up on Mars, which is seemingly like the original concept of what they wanted to do for the Shangri-La pyramid there. Obviously, it's still reminiscent where, like, you know, you can run down the big pyramid and then there's like little 4 areas in each corner or whatever, Like, it's not quite Shang. If they weren't blasting the music in your ears with it, you probably wouldn't really even notice it. But I gotta be honest, man, I got lit up for saying Shangri-La was on Mars like a year ago or 2 years ago. I made it short. And I was even talking about this on stream where I was like, bro, Shangri-La is absolutely on Mars. Like, you in Black Ops 3, when you go into the eclipse mode, Mars's moon Phobos is the eclipsed moon that's on the map. Like, the base version of Mars, for sure, not on whatever, like, it's not on Mars. But when you go travel through space and time, you end up on Mars. And I stood by this, and I got absolutely berated in the comments. People were like, you're fucking stupid, you're an idiot, it's not on Mars, blah, blah, blah. It's a big old meme, whatever. I stood on it, I ate it. I feel so vindicated now, dude. When I came out of that portal and I heard the music playing, I was like flipping off. I'm like, yeah, fucking guys, all of you. Like, I got absolutely hoed for that. But you know what? Hey, dude, sick. Like I said earlier, the transition between space to Mars is insane. I love the way it looks. I love the zero gravity. I think the stuff in the back corner, I hope there's more to it, but they got like a flamingo, a toilet, a space outfit, and something else over there in like the back corner. Like, I hope there's a side Easter egg for those or something other than just a little bit of ambiance over there. But, you know, I'm a huge Mars fan. Like, IRL, I'm very into like Mars, the history of Mars, the potential that, you know, life, or that we came from Mars at some point hundreds of thousands of millions of years ago, that there was, you know, it was inhabitable and people lived there. So it's always interested me. So getting to actually play on Mars officially now and have that area is super sick. It's seeming like we're going to get a Mars round-based map, or we're going to get a survival round-based map for Mars in season 2. The zero grav's cool. Everything about it's sick. The portal is cool. I like that it, you know, it's just a different part of the map where if you want to escape Oscar and just run around, you can go there, and it's pretty vibey. But then the actual few steps remaining for the Easter egg, you have to use the wonder weapon to charge up the pillars, which are like very ominous. You get the bird that flies in from the back, which is very ominous. Like the Hertz music that plays, just like the, you know, early humanity music that's going on out there, just the gongs and stuff are really just, it makes you feel so immersed in being on Mars, and it's so different from being out on Saturn and being back at the actual POI of Astra Malorum. And then, of course, you know, once you get everything charged up and you're good to go, you use the portals to summon the head. The skull comes down, and you got phase 1 of the boss fight where it's shooting fireballs at you. It's got, you know, the toxic phase. It's got the laser from the observatory shooting down at you. You get through that. Then you get to Caltheris. You've got 3 stages of Caltheris, which originally I was like, damn, dude, they are really hard in the boss fights this year. It's still difficult, don't get me wrong, but once you get like a good augment loadout and you get the right weapons, it's not too bad. Even without the boss cheese, it's really not that bad of a boss fight. I'd encourage you, if you haven't beat it yet, or if you are thinking about going for it and you just think it's too hard, try and use the Jaegers if you got them leveled up. You're definitely going to need the prestige attachment for it, but it makes the boss fight so much more manageable. It's not as like cheesy as Patient 13 or the Guardian became. It's still, don't get me wrong, it's still a difficult boss fight and you got to be ready for it, but this does not need a nerf. And I've seen so many people already starting the whole we got a nerf, like, no, please just leave it the way it's totally fine right now. People just got to find the meta for it. I'm sure there's probably even a better weapon than the Jaegers for this boss fight, but just let's give it a week. If people are still struggling with this and we're looking at a 1% completion rate next week, okay, fine, we can nerf it and then we can make this boss fight go into cursed. Like, I'm on board for it, but like, before we pull a Vaetherion here and we just completely nerf it into the ground, it becomes in my opinion, child's play. Like, can we just take a step back, take a breather? Because I'm not gonna lie, dude. I failed Vatherion a lot at the beginning. It was definitely a tough boss fight for me. I only failed the initial run through that we had. That was it. Like I'm probably like 6 or 7 for 7 since we since we started there. But yeah, no, it's I think it's fine. I think it's a good boss fight. I think it's definitely a little more difficult than what we had in Black Ops 6, but this is what we asked for. And when you get the right loadout and the right augments and you're completely kitted out, ready to go, it's not that. I don't even think it's as bad as Eddie, even close. So I think we're looking good here with the boss fight. Everything about this map, like like I said, if they could just dial in the Wonder Weapon quest or the Wonder Weapon itself, and they could dial in maybe like something for killing Oscar, even if it's like a percentage chance of a drop. I'm willing to go S tier if they fix those things. The Wonder Weapon seriously gets that noticeable of a buff to be like, hey, damage wise, it's not going to wipe away an entire horde with one shot. But if they extend to 2 to 3 zombies, get that buff for Oscar in terms of the droppage afterwards, and maybe find like one more cool side Easter egg, I'm willing to go S tier. Like, I really am, man. Like I said, I might be a little biased because I like space. I like the round change music and the vibe there. I love Shangri-La. Shangri-La is one of my top 5 maps of all time. So like, I'm very big on having Shang and Mars be a portion of this map, and then the lore itself. When you really start to understand what's going on, we won't get into it this episode, but the more we go through the Dark Ether story, especially here with the first 2 maps of VO7, the more I'm thinking that this is either the original cycle for Primus, or this is like what happens before the cycle starts. So again, I don't want to get into that topic. People are gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? It's way more in depth than just that. But storylines got me intrigued. I'm actually, believe it or not, very interested for Alpha Omega, or whatever that is now, quote unquote Alpha Omega, and where we go next, because it seems like we're going to Hell on Mars, which is going to end up being, from the leaks and rumors, you don't know if they're true or not, Camp Edward, which is Alpha Omega. I'm hoping as long as it's bigger than Alpha Omega, if they got the drill there from Nuketown too, and we finally get some explanation for what the fuck the drill was on the loading screen, I'm here for it. I'm ready to go. Astra Malorum gave me so much confidence that, like, hey, even if this is just kind of a map that focuses on the Warden, or it's more of a one-off before we get back to the last remaining 3 DLC maps after this, I'm fine with it. I'm here for it. More content is good content. If it's we're looking at like a Tomb situation here, where it's just a dry map, it's bland, the aura's not there, the Wonder Weapon's kind of you're not really into it, then I got some concern. But like, as of right now, I'm riding high into the next map, being like, I'm gonna reserve judgment of what Alpha Omega means until I see gameplay, or until they start putting stuff out about it. I'm not gonna get in my head that, oh, the next map is just an Alpha Omega 1-to-1 remaster. If it is, got a few questions, just a few, got some questions. But till that point, everything's looking good, man. I'm chilling. I'm ready to go. I'm locked in.
Bro, before we go to the community corner, I gotta get this off my chest. I gotta say it, because this is, when I saw this the first time, and then when I did it for the first time in game, this made me so excited about this title, and this made me so happy for Modern Zombies. But the explosive next to the asteroid at Wisp T, jump off the left side into the most peak cinematic experience, the music playing in the background, and then you're flying and you fly by, and then there's just the DG2 turret. That is the type of stuff I'm talking about. That is hold on. That is fire. That is amazing. That is, I know what's going on. That's crazy. That's the type of stuff that's like blowing up the Earth on Moon. That's you get into Origins and the robots are all walking towards you simultaneously. That's the type of stuff that Modern Zombies has been missing. And then, you know what, they could have done it. They could have took the quick way out. You could have went through the the end of being out in space there, and they could have teleported you, or they could have like black screened you right back to spawn. No, what do? They slowly move you all the way back across the map, and they just plop you down right in spawn after you pick up the DG2 turret, and you can put it on Tessie. We don't even know what it's for. We don't even know what it's for yet. But that cinematic is what creates legacy Zombies fans that make people want to hop on and play these maps and get into these games because of stuff like that. The epic proportion, the larger than life, the fantasy aspect of the mode. That is I was so excited when I saw that, so I had to throw that in there right before we got to the community corner. But how good is that? Dude, you're right, they cooked.
More stuff like that, honestly. Like, that's the kind of side Easter egg content that we like. We don't know what the turret does yet, but just you got the music, which is it's a remake of the Shangri-La Easter egg song while you're floating there out in the middle of space towards Saturn. Like, it's just very immersive. We don't know what the turret does yet. I will say, like, I just want them to have like one or two more side Easter eggs in this map that are like impactful that I do all the time or most of the time, where I'm like, yeah, this is great. Because Terminus last year started out real strong where we got that, and then it seemed like every map through the DLC season it was like less and less of that, where it's like, man, back in the day we got Origins G Strikes, upgraded Arnie's for Shadows of Evil and Revelations, like the Thunder Punches on Origins, all these different side quests that help you aid in the map to make them a little more unique. I think that's the only thing that's missing from this game right now. It are just like one or two side quests on Ashes and Astra that are like Origins Punches level or G Strike level or Arnie's level or something like that. That's gonna be like, I'm fucking hopping on this map because I want to upgrade the Arnie's today. I'm fucking hopping on Origins because I want the G Strikes and I want the punches and I want this and that. Like, I think we're right there. This is as close as we've been back to the pinnacle since BO3, in my opinion. I think it just needs that like one more push over the hump before I'm willing to be like, this is competing with BO3. The side eggs are a little lacking. That's my one critique here, aside from Oscar and the LGM1 buff that needs to happen. Side Easter eggs so far have been a little underwhelming. That's one of my favorite parts of the game, and I just have not had the incentive to do. Even like the Dempsey and the Nikolai side Easter egg, those are sick. But we're just missing like one or two map specific ones, I think, that could really make these a little bit better. I don't know if they're gonna be able to patch those in at any point. I'm just saying, moving forward, let's keep. We're right there, guys. We're right there. This is as good as it's been. We're right on the cusp of greatness here. Let's just keep it trending in the right direction for the future maps. But let's get over to the community corner, our favorite section of each pod.
Absolutely. Okay, we got a couple of how many we got here? We got four of them here.
Four,
okay,
so typical four for the corner. But again, guys, I tweeted this out over on X. What we do before every podcast, usually on Sundays. These are recorded Sunday night. They go up Monday mornings. I'll put out a tweet on X, basically with the community corner prompt for this episode. Today's, of course, is what are your early first impressions of Astra Malorum? Again, guys, you guys are absolutely killing it over here. We got 100 replies. People are just really not only hyped about the map, but really willing to share their opinions, which is what we love. Like I said, I go through all of these and I sift through all of these. Even though we usually include like 4 or 5, I do go through all of them just to see what like the general community sentiment is, because that's a great gauge of like how people are feeling. And again, last year towards the end of the game when we started doing this, mostly negative. So far, like the 3 or 4 that we've done this year for BO7, it's been like all positive, like 90%, 95% positive. So like we're in a really good spot right now, and this is a really good gauge for the community. But again, we appreciate all you guys for not only the support of the podcast, but over on Twitter, kind of giving us your guys' feedback, because it helps us craft these episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hop into it real quick right here. First one off the top is from Dark Zero. He said, it feels like a great mix of all 3 eras of zombies maps, Zelensky, Blundell, and Kevin Drew. My only response to this, MZC, is I totally agree.
I replied to this and was like, I love this comment because it's so, I didn't even think about that, but it's so true. Like you've got like the lore of the planets, and Mars and all these different things that you'd see in a Blundell era map, right? Where it's like, just like the very out there kind of ambiance and out there setting. You've got the Zelensky era, which you touched on, like the Kino der Toten style of map, where it's not overly confusing. It's not blowing you away one way or another. It's just like it's a simple layout once you really understand it. You also got an enemy like George. We haven't seen this type of enemy, this type of boss enemy in forever. So again, it really harkens back to the original days of like, hey, they're getting really creative here. And again, it's called back to George. And then the Kevin Drew era, of course, being like, your modern zombies in terms of the mechanics. I feel like we're just kind of really refining what we have now. So it's like the gameplay of the modern era, which is Kevin Drew. You've got like the lore building, the atmosphere of Blundell, and then like the map gameplay of like the classic like Black Ops 1 style of map, which is it's crazy that they've been able to do this. And I hope that moving forward, they make these maps with that style in mind, where they're like, hey, we know we have the modern mechanics, we've really nailed these down, and this is something we're comfortable with and we're going to keep sticking to. But when they look for inspiration in terms of like the Easter egg and the lore and the boss enemies and the wonder weapons, you look back at like the Zelensky Blundell era and just pick and choose the favorite thing that they want to use for the next map based on those qualities. But no, it was a great comment from Dark Zero and something I completely agree with.
Yeah, really good point to start off the community corner. Moving along to Bacon. A huge shout out to Bacon. Absolute stud.
Bacon goat on X now. Love it.
Absolutely. Getting him over to the dark side X. Okay, he said, I think it's a fine map. Just casually playing it is an enjoyable experience. When I did the egg with my squad, I didn't think it was great, even though my teammate did all the steps. Just seems tedious and annoying at times with Oscar, but for casual play, it's a fun map, 7 out of 10. I think Bacon brings up an interesting point here, some food for thought. You could do a lot of different things with this map. Like I said earlier in the episode, it's almost like a smaller survival map type of experience, but I feel like it has that fleshed out Easter egg that has a lot of character, has a lot of soul. It does have the unique wonder weapon, even though we've, kind of had our opinions on that for this episode. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of different ways you could go about playing this map. And, if you want to hop in and you want to, use Mule Kick once you get all the augments, there's some unique replayability there that you're not going to be able to get just hopping into a game of Ashes of the Damned right away off the rip. So definitely interesting. 7 out of 10. Good score. I think a lot of people in the community are going to be hovering right around that score for Astra Malorum.
I think so too. I think the general community vibe to this point through weekend 1 has been like 7.5, which is like, I think a pretty fair assessment here. I'm a little bit higher on it just because I take into account like the whole, I like the aura, I like the setting. I've got some partial, I'm impartial to Shangri-La and Mars, so like my score is going to be a little bit higher than the average person. But I will say, I think Bacon was actually has been out of town all weekend, so we only got to play day 1. So my best advice for you would be, just keep playing it, give it some more, give it some more burn and give it some more run time, go through it and kind of play it a few different times, whether it's leveling up a couple guns, camo grinding, or doing the Easter egg yourself in solo. I was on the same boat where like the first 1 or 2 times through the egg, I was like, I don't know how I'm feeling about this one, but the more I really sunk my teeth into it, the more I'm like, fuck, dude, this is good. I said that like 2 or 3 times, but it really is like, it's got me hooked and it's got my attention, and I'm dumbass locked in here. So yeah, Bacon for sure. I get what you're saying. I can totally see where you're coming from. I would just say maybe give it a little more run time, get maybe another week on there, and then if you're still feeling where you're feeling, then it's totally fair, because I'd say your score is about on par with what everybody else is feeling in the community.
And I think that's kind of the theme of the episode for me too. This map does grow on you. I think the more you play it, the more, and this is another thing too. I feel like this is the 3rd time I'm saying this, but this is another thought that has popped into my head, MZC, that I just feel like the studio and the team over Turk I've not seen them get any credit for. It's like the 8-player crew, which I think rightfully so, a lot of people were skeptical of and critical of them even like releasing that or like teasing that at the end of Black Ops 6, has been really good. Like you could switch around, and yeah, I'm going to be a Dempsey main, I could tell you that, but Dempsey's hilarious on this map. He's hilarious on Ashes of the Damned, but I have full confidence that the other players that you hop in with, you're going to get that different level of experience and that different level of, hey, this map kind of grows. The more I play it, the more I enjoy it, the more I get to understand it, the more that it makes sense type of vibe. So I think that's just something too that no one's really talked about, but like, yeah, it's kind of the meme thing in the community, or like, oh, is this rumor really true about, the crews interacting and stuff like that, or the wink in the intro cutscene. But I think that's been an amazing aspect of this game as well through 2 maps.
That's something like, when we did our roundtable with Stanley, Afterlife, and Donuts, and even when we talked to Stanley in general and Afterlife before that, was like the criticisms of the writing and the lore, and especially now bringing back, Primus Ultimus, whatever you want to call them, mixed in with the Requiem crew. It's like, how is this going to play out? Nobody really had any faith. I to be honest with you, I was kind of just like, I think they're going to throw Requiem to the side, there'll be nobodies, and then they'll just kind of really focus hard on the the Primus crew here. But I like what they've done, dude. Like you said, everybody, I've been playing as other operators recently. There's a skin for Maya I got for completing the directed mode for Ashes, that, by the way, first directed mode Easter egg I've completed ever, by the way, was for Ashes, because they have this like skin for Maya where she's got like the Denizen and she's got the Necro Flute on one side, like $20 bundle skin right there for free just for doing directed. So it kind of got me they got me, you put a good reward in there, I'll go and do it. But yeah, playing with Maya, like hearing her talk to Vatherion when you spawn in with her, and hearing her just kind of like talk about the other crew members and stuff. It's like, okay, like this is good. And honestly, having 8 operators instead of 4 is nice. It's cool to be able to have this ability to swap between a bunch of different people depending upon how your play style is. Like you said, Dempsey's really funny. Like when I play with Dempsey, I'm like, this is more of my unserious run that I'm here. Like, I'm just kind of messing around, vibing. But when I'm Richtofen, like Richtofen's usually, yeah, he's got his like sus moments and his sus quotes, but Richtofen's like the locked in egomaniac half the time, where he's like, calling out the Shadowsmith and whatnot, and that's what I love about him. So having the ability to kind of pick and choose between different crew members is nice.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move along to K. They say, I was admittedly skeptical about the map being small, but so far I've been having a blast. Oscar is an awesome addition. Love the callbacks. Periodolia remix and the potential lore implications from Mars alone are exciting. Essentially, it's the tomb done right. I think that's like, if someone was like, hey, describe Astra Malorum in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words or less, I think that would be a good way to put it, even though I think me and you are in agreement that I think it's a lot better than the tomb, and I'm sure that's what Kay was going for there as well. It's just everything is, I don't know, man. The more I think about it, the more we've done this episode, this map might give Ashes of the Dam a run for its money. I know that's early. And it's like, dude, it's like, but like compare stuff 1-to-1, like how I said earlier, like Xursa or Oscar. I think Oscar's maybe a little cooler, but I thought Xursa was very cool. Now the Necrofluid Gauntlet, like, yeah, we could probably do a whole episode, AOTD, and hit that like button if you want a Perkaholics Anonymous podcast comparing Ashes and ranking Ashes versus Astra Malorum. We could make it happen. We could get it done. But I mean, Kay brings up good points as well.
Dude, that's gonna be the title for this video. Is literally just like Astra Malorum keeps getting better, something along those lines. Because it's like the more I sit there and think about it, the more I play it, the more I let it digest, the more I'm like, dude, I might like this a little bit more than Ashes. I might really like this map. You don't want to get into the whole like it's weekend one. We've done these. We did the Ashes review, which actually held up very well. But we've done the Ashes review and now the Astra Malorum first impressions here. A couple days after the map comes out, you usually want to reserve some judgment. I think we're pretty. We've been very positive, right? Which is the community sentiment here. But like we do have our negatives here and there. But overall, I think that Kay is 100% right when it says like it's the tomb done right. I didn't hate the tomb, but there was definitely like that, like, there's no, or, the cave doesn't really, do anything for me. Like there's no like excitement walking down to the bottom of the structure and then going into the dark ether. Like it is what it is. But this is like, I think it's unfair to compare Astra to the tomb because Astra is just on such a different level, but I get what you're saying, and that was like my first initial take too. When I texted you, I think it was like at like 3 or 4 in the morning after we had done the Easter egg and after we had done all that stuff, and I was working on getting the ballistic knives. I was like, bro, this is like the tomb just on crack. And I was, again, it's an unfair comparison to Astra because it's just on a different plane of existence in terms of how good it is all around. But it really is, it's like a decently similar size. And when you're comparing it to the last 2 games, like that's the map you'd compare it to in terms of like the size. I feel like what they were trying to achieve, but like the Easter egg is far and away way better. The Wonder Weapon, obviously Ice Staff is better, but if they buff them, we'll see what happens there. But all around, yeah, I'd say it's a pretty fair comment to say it's the tomb done right. But like when you say it's the tomb done right, and when I say that, because that's my best comparison for it, we're talking about like the tomb is like a C tier map if we're comparing it to Astra, and Astra is like high A, scraping the bottom of S tier with the potential to get there if there's some tweaks made. So that's where the comparison is there. But I completely agree.
Definitely an interesting comparison, and like I said, good point made by Kay there. All right, last and final here from Triple Wario. They said, so far, disappointed. Basically, no unique reward side Easter eggs as of now, which makes the map feel much less rich. Looking around the map for Oscar 3 times for the Wonder Weapon is just annoying. The DG2 barrel is just a reuse from Ashes, and here you die in 1 second due to meat thrown at you. So, like we talked about earlier, MGC, we're going to get both sides of the coin as far as trying to include everyone's opinions in the community corner. Not everybody in the community is going to like every map, and some people, they might... You know how it goes. Some maps get like these cult followings in Call of Duty Zombies, so there's always going to be mixed opinions, and I think that, hearing those people's opinions and understanding, hey, you might like this, but we might like that, and vice versa is interesting to, really get the total feel from how the community is. But I get what he's saying with the side Easter eggs. That's something me and you've talked about in this episode alone. Besides that, I don't know if I 100% agree. I think the Oscar step is fine. It being annoying, yes. Like I said, I can understand that and hear that. Is it slightly annoying? Yes, but it's not like a huge impediment to getting the Wonder Weapon or doing the Easter egg. So I'm kind of conflicted there. Like I said earlier, if the Wonder Weapon was a little bit better, I think they just need to match that up and make the framing work a little bit better would be my critique as far as Oscar and then the LGM one. The last thing I definitely disagree with, because like, to me, I get where you're saying it's reused, but that's just so cool to me. Like, they're crashing through space, getting teleported from the end of Ash of the Damned, like into Astra Malorum. Yeah, the DG2 turret being off Tessie and being floating around in space, or orbiting the rock that we're on. I think that's amazing. Like I said, I think that's absolute peak. So I didn't mind that at all, and we don't even know what it does. So I think it's kind of a little bit unfair to pass full and total judgment regarding that, but. How do you feel about what Triple Wario said, MZC?
Yeah, again, guys, like we touched on this a little bit earlier. Like I really had to go through the comments to find some negativity. Like, and I went with the intention to go through these and be like, I'm gonna try and find like a pretty thought out like negative tweet here. But everything was like solid 7.5, 8, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I'm really enjoying this. This is like the only negative comment that we had. Shout out to Triple Wario for being kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum here, just so we can have a fair viewpoint to talk about. I'm right there with you on the unique side Easter eggs. I do think that the Nikolai one as well as the Tessie one are great. There's also another one that's been found where you get these like wisps to spawn around you and you can like throw them at zombies. I think they come back every round. I don't know if they're really like that crazy, but I agree. Side Easter eggs could definitely be a little bit better in not only this map, but the map before as well. Looking around for Oscar for 3 times, to me personally, it was annoying the first 2 or 3 times I did it, but the more that I've gotten used to the map and understood like, hey, he's about to spawn in next round, I should be over there looking for him, and the more you can like min-max in between rounds, you do some trials, less of a concern for me there. I agree though that it is annoying just for the Wonder Weapon when you're really not going to use it too much. And then for the DG2 barrel, I just completely disagree again. Like, I have the same viewpoint as Jeff, where it's like, it's great lore building from not only the last map, having Tessie and Spawn. Our biggest concern was having Tessie be on every map. We were like, oh, this is how it's going to be, but it literally ended up being a nothing burger from the get-go. The DG2 barrel is a cool, like you said, a cool find. You're floating out into the rings of Saturn to get it, just like it was after the the cutscene and whatnot. But I think that there's definitely more to it. I don't think that they would just do that and then have no attachment for it. My best guess is it's either a side Easter egg for like a free perk, or Pack-a-Punch crystal, or I don't even know, like something to do with that, or it's something for cursed where you have to go, it's a relic on like round 60, you get on the turret and kill X amount of zombies, something like that. It could be could tie in completely over there. So again, I don't think it's like, if Tessie was driving around the map and that was one of the main upgrades for it on this map, I'd be like, this is ridiculous. Like, come on, like this should have been left in the first map, but here we are. Just a little side Easter egg, fun little thing to do. You don't have to do it. You don't have to go out of your way for it. So I kind of disagree with 2/3 of the statements there, but for sure the unique side Easter eggs, that's the side you and I can both get on here and feel like we need a little bit more, just a little bit more, one or two more good ones.
No, and I just think I gotta round out this episode. I got this Astra Malorum at an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10, I would say so far, and it's just these couple of little things that we're missing. Yes, it's still early. There's a lot of digesting still to do on this map. It might be a little bit of new car smell, running around the map, and we're well aware of that, but I think it's a good map. I think it's quality. I think it has all the pieces there, except for the 1 or 2 things that we talked about, lack of the side Easter eggs that may or may not be there, that, maybe we just don't know about, or maybe they just aren't as, prevalent and plentiful as some of the other maps that we've had in the last 12 months. And then just really the LGM one. I mean, if that was 25% stronger, 15 to 25% stronger, there's not much to complain about this map from our perspective, guys. If we get it. If you think Oscar's annoying, if you think that the building the LGM doesn't make sense, or it's not worth your time, or you don't like the Easter egg, that's fine. Everybody has their own opinions, but just from the type of play style that me and MZC like to, play Call of Duty Zombies with, we think it's a quality map for the most part. I'm excited to see what they do with Cursed. I'm excited to see what they do with potential survival maps down the road. So that's really kind of my final thoughts here to round out Perkaholics Anonymous podcast episode 23, MZC.
Yeah, I'm going 9. Like I said, I'm very impartial to Shang. I'm very impartial to Mars. I'm very impartial to Saturn. Those are 3. Well, obviously Shangri-La is not a real place, but Mars and Saturn are
Not
2.
that we know of.
Not that we know of. There are some structures on Mars that are a little bit suspect, but no, I like the setting itself. I'm very impartial to. I'm gonna be biased because I love Shang. I love Mars. Love Saturn. I definitely think that they tried their best to innovate with this map, or kind of be different, at least bringing an enemy like Oscar in. The LGM1, again, fantastic design. Just if they can get this buff out by like middle of this week, I think we're on an all-time high right now in terms of like their turnaround in terms of getting stuff out to the community. Like with the past couple updates that we've had with Ashes, I know there was a big chunk update recently with season 1 because that's when the majority of the stuff gets out, but like a small little tweak like this, because they changed the boss fight in like 2 days, 3 days.
Yep.
People were like, we don't like the boss. Beginning of next week, here we go, we're in, here are the changes. If we get that done for this wonder weapon and maybe Oscar gets something, dude, I'm telling you, like 9.5, where like a 10 out of 10 is like top 1, top 2, top 3 map of all time. But if they get those changes done by middle of next week, like 9.5 for me personally. And I'm really liking the vibe here. It's different, it's unique. That's what we asked for. Just needs a little touch up here or there, and then like what would have pushed it to like a 9.8 would have been like 1 or 2 more side eggs that we could be there. Who knows? But don't appear to be anything crazy in the game. But overall, guys, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Again, let us know what you guys think of this map in the comments below. I love reading all of them, especially on Twitter as well as the comment sections. I just go through them, man, because I like to see what the community's saying and what the general sentiment and judgment of the community is. Because last year it was very interesting to see like Terminus and Citadel be very well received, and then like the complete shift after the Tomb, and like every map it'd be like 40-60 positive or 30-70 positive versus negative. And then this year so far, but through 2 maps, I mean, granted it's been a month, but through 2 maps everything's been like 95% positive. So it's like I'm here for it. I'm excited. I'm glad the community's eating well and everyone's enjoying this. Just enjoy the year, man. We still got like 4 maps to go in the DLC season, not including survival maps, not including LTMs, not including leaderboard events in general. So just enjoy this year, man, because we don't know how long. I don't know. It could be like 2-3 years without zombies. So this is a pretty banger year that we've got going on right now.
I couldn't agree more. All right, Clutch Squad, we appreciate every single one of you for hanging out this long. Perkaholics Down podcast, episode 23. Like MZC said, make sure you're hitting that like button. Comment down below your rating of Astra Malorum, 0 out of 10. Why you chose the ranking that you gave it. We're curious to hear everybody's thoughts there. And yeah, with that all being said, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Perkaholics Down podcast 24 on the flip side. But yeah, stay safe, stay hydrated, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.